This is my review of Nail Your Niche by Brian Ellwood.
Do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. How many times have you heard that? Is that even possible? I believe it is.
First up during this review, we're going to review whether or not you should take or pass on this offer, whether or not I recommend this book. I'm going to describe how I came to find this book, how I decided it was right for me, and how I use it in practical life application. With the title Nail Your Niche, its aim is to help you find your purpose, or at least point you in the right direction. And by the way, as an American, I say niche as opposed to niche. I wouldn't say I'm going to Paris, I say I'm going to Paris. We're going to look at who benefits, not only future entrepreneurs, but anyone willing to put in the work to search within themselves to find direction. We'll see if there is a relationship to other projects. For me, that would be a yes. I would point to who, not how, and find your why. More on that later. We live in very interesting times where we can send and spread messages to anyone around the world. Obviously, the internet, predominantly YouTube, and social media is the reason for that and how you're taking in my message right now. A few months ago in September 23, I was watching one of the videos by a YouTuber named Myron Golden. He's an influencer who happens to use scriptures from the good book to make parallels to financial freedom. In one of his videos, he happened to make a matter of factual comment that he was having a conversation with a Dr. Benjamin Hardy. He gave the Dr. Hardy a glowing compliment about how intelligent he is and moved on to his subject for the day. I looked up the name Dr. Benjamin Hardy and saw that he's the author of a couple of books, 10x is easier than 2x, and Who Not How. And then I looked up his name in YouTube and watched a couple of his videos on his channel. I listened to the concept of his book, Who Not How, which encourages people, especially budding entrepreneurs, to start asking who can help us instead of how to do that something that we want to do. This sent me down the path where I once again considered what it is I want to do. I came across Nail Your Niche by Brian Ellwood, listened to the sample, and liked it enough to order the book. The book lays out the principles on whether someone is making a transition from one career to another, or more preferably, starting off in their lives to do what they were meant to do. As I said, the principles are laid out just like any other reputable self help book, backed by the suggestions of action steps and exercises. However, it's up to the reader, or in my case, the listener, to follow through and complete the exercises. Brian himself is a coach, so this book is mostly geared toward helping other potential coaches. However, the lessons can also transfer to other endeavors. Now, does Brian have the credentials, licenses, or degrees to indicate that he's reached the criteria to become a quote unquote coach? I don't know. And I wouldn't know the significance of the certificates if I did know the names. And there are some people who may need to see that from a quote unquote coach. However, the fact that he wants to coach so much that he showed up with a valid plan of attack in terms which fit the internet age we're living in to put you in the path of where you want to go, that was enough for me. Perhaps the most impactful exercise for me was the process of finding my why. Not only did that send me off midway in the middle of reading Brian's book, off to read Find Your Why by Simon Sinek, David Mead, and Peter Docker, yet another self-help book with its own set of principles and exercises, including one that required the participation of someone else who was not reading the book with me, but who did me the favor of reading chapter 3 of Finding Your Why, which was required to assist in an exercise interviewing me, which in all took over 4 hours of our time together. I am greatly in debt to that person for the extensive work and care in helping me find my purpose. Let me go over some of the main lessons in the book. In chapter 7, you're asked to nail your why, where I unpacked and found the stories from my past that had the biggest impact in my life. After making a list of numerous events, episodes, setbacks, and triumphs in my life, we are to cut them down to just 5. That is when the other person in the form of a coach comes in, and I was thoroughly interviewed about my top 5 impacts in my life. As instructed in Find Your Why, the coach knows to point out recurring themes. Both of you should be taking notes. I took notes of what I wanted to say, and my coach took notes of what she interpreted from what I was saying. After the interview, we literally traded notes from this talk. I drafted my why statement. Little by little, one idea, one word, one sentence after another, I constructed my why statement and then stripped it down to keep it brief and more concise, including both a cause and the reaction of what I want to take place. Not only did I do all of the exercises asked of me in the book, Nail Your Niche, but I even consulted AI to help out with a list of 25 additional words and phrases I could use to help draft my why statement, and came up with some colorful suggestions. I typed in, make a list of at least 25 ways of saying the following phrase, and then I typed the statement. The statement I came up with myself is what I like best. For now, but in the future, if I ever want to update my why statement, I'm going to refer to those suggestions made by AI. Once you've completed your why, after you've determined your niche, the book then transitions its focus onto nailing your prospective market and then how to reach and communicate with them. In chapter 11, Brian goes over your QER, quantifiable end result. You, as the producer, the marketer, the entrepreneur, the coach, you are making a promise to your market that something is going to happen. The QER, or the quantifiable end result, simply answers the question, did your quote unquote promise happen or not? Did your product shoot out the fire like it's supposed to? Did the person lose the amount of weight? Did the promise you made come through? Brian goes over the three factors of a QER. One, call out the market or the demographic. Number two, define the stage the market is for. And three, promise the program will deliver. You want to find these three factors in the three big markets of a QER: health, wealth, and relationships. In chapter 13, we cover your unique angle, which answers the question, why would a prospect choose my services? He goes over all of this so that you're putting it all together, mastering your message to your potential clientele, and strategies on how to reach them. And at the end of the book, you're provided with your own ultimate nail your niche checklist. If all of that isn't enough to prove why I was impressed with Brian, consider the fact that after completing his book, I reached out to Brian online and he responded himself. We exchanged messages, and then we even had a great discussion a month after I finished his book. He told me two elements of what's needed in order to make a living online. To give a general overview, we talked about first how to build those two elements, and then about the amount of time it would take to build those elements. As I said earlier, we are indeed living in an interesting time when we can read a book by a complete stranger and end up talking directly with them a few months later. I strongly recommend reading this book if you're searching for your niche, especially if you want to do anything unique, something that's not taught in the school. Brian is also on the quest to find how we can all do what we love. The fact that he took a single minute, let alone an hour, to talk with me, again, consider the fact that I read his book and did the work, proves that he is determined to find what works and promote his findings in order to lay out the right path for everyone willing to find and make their own path. I'm Eddie Alexis. If you made it this far, thank you for listening. Also, what are some of your thoughts about Nail Your Niche? What helped you? Let me know in the comments. Also, if you liked the video, take 2 seconds to like the video and subscribe. For my acoustic guitar covers, check out my other channel at Edris Alexis or Midnight Bone.